Three Grots in a Vox is intended for a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about tactical marines or Gabriel Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.
Yeah, I had a great weekend and I thoroughly enjoyed the tournament, although the second game was a bit naff.
So, are we recording? Because people don't want us to cut the waffle, which is great. So, game one, we played against a pair of gents who were running Grey Knights and Dark Angels. And it was a closely fought one, but I think we did all right on that one because we basically kept Tony's Vindicators out of being ganked range. And they just shot the crap out of all of their Terminators while our stuff got
see that squad?
Yeah.
This turn, this squad dies. And you see that thing over there? This turn, that one dies. And it's it was a bit like that. It was just each time we opened fire, it was like, and that's now wiped. And then that's now wiped. And then that's now wiped. So it was super close because we pretty much wiped everything off the board. But we basically didn't score any points until sort of
until 4 or 5. But by that turn 4 or 5, so they scored maximum primaries on turn 2 and turn 3, but they had nothing left for the rest of the games, which is how we came ahead of it and with a lead of I think 5
that much.
5 points.
I was convinced we'd lost until he started totting up points.
It was close.
Anyway, I'd still like to do a video on it at some point. Do a proper talk through and get John's opinion on how we should do things differently or whatever.
The second game was against Shalaxi and the Keeper of Secrets and the Lancer army.
We got absolutely fucking wrecked.
85-27. That one was. That was not close.
It was an interesting one though because if the game had kept going, then it would have been the other way around. Because when the game finished, Mark still had basically Dante and the Sanguinary Guard more or less completely intact. Just we
ripped apart the Lancer and the Demons by turn 4, but
so there was nothing left.
They scored all the stuff by then. So,
so we didn't get anywhere in the first few turns, and I got basically wiped. Dante come down and started murdering everything, but it was just too little, too late. So the game ended.
We scared the hell out of them with Death Company after they charged in the Lancer, and they're all dev wounds on the charge, are they? Wow, okay, yeah, that's pretty pokey.
But
we made a single tactical error or strategic error in deployment that would have changed the course of that game, I feel, and we could have done a lot better if the infiltrators had been strung out as long as possible all the way along the back, and then he couldn't have dropped the Demons down on one side to charge Vindicator,
or even if I'd just kept the Vindicator slightly back. Yeah. It was just too far forward when you could do that multi-charge that killed the Vindicator turn 1 before it got to do anything. Yeah. If it had only been out to hit the other unit,
if we'd have bought a turn,
I could have double Vindicator tapped it and blown it up the next turn.
Yeah, if we'd have bought a turn, we'd have done a lot better with that one. Yeah. But
we fucked that right from the beginning.
And then game 3 was against the Space Wolf Imperial Guard army, where it was
that was a lot of fun.
It was the long table thing rather than the short table one.
I thought we were boned in that one.
Yeah. After that
first shot of the game from a ballistic dreadnought, just one ballistic dreadnought, shot the length of the table and blew up my Vindicator in one shot. Didn't even need to use the missiles.
Turn 1. Bang.
Wow. That doesn't happen too often.
Cannon came in, killed the Vindicator with one shot.
Because he was running.
Hey, people always say are ballistic dreadnoughts any good? Yeah, they're good.
Well, he was running his Ironstorm, so he re-rolled the wound roll and just went, okay, we're doing...
He rolled so hot, so he rolled the dice, and it's like all 6s, and you're like, well, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
It happens to the best of us, doesn't it?
But then the rest of the game, we managed to pretty much close down the board.
We basically, our tactic in that game was YOLO. We charged everything forward except a single squad of infiltrators at the back. In the hope that some of it would reach their lines alive, and most of it reached their lines alive.
We into their deployment zone and then just gently wrecked our way through. The Terminators did phenomenally, and I did watch your Terminator and Bladeguard video, John, and you're totally wrong. Terminators are much better than Bladeguard. Bladeguard would never have been able to do what the Terminators did in that game. I suppose what really did it was when he used Beyond the Fell-Handed, managed to heroically intervene into the Terminators.
Hey everybody, if you tuned in watching, expecting Stormlance talk, then we're kind of just chewing the fat over a doubles event Tony and I went to last weekend.
We did fight a Stormlance opponent.
We did, yeah. That was
first
there was the Stormlance Dark Angels in game one.
Well,
yeah, as well as the Grey Knights. Those Grey Knights were annoying. Just go woo 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 woo
they
woo
were
woo woo woo.
very irritating.
Oh.
But anyway, yeah. So the Bjorn managed to heroically into the Terminators and precision out the chaplain. And then if that was Bladeguard, they would have then been pretty much fucked. But because they weren't, they were Terminators. They just fell back, charged back in, and killed the bastards. You know, they didn't need the extra because they were hitting a strength 10. That was enough to mean they didn't need the chaplain to still take the day, because we found that we were fighting so many toughness 10 opponents
and
every game. What toughness is 10? What toughness is it? 10. So it was just the sheer number of toughness 10 meant that the extra couple of points of strength on the power fists were absolutely game-changing over and over again. And I do think that sometimes when we're looking at just the numbers on it, we because you see, like on your chart, John, when you went through it, you're like, oh yeah, but if you're fighting this particular strength, then they're great. But every other one, the other ones are great. But then you don't always take into account the fact that that particular point is so common.
True.
Because it was kind of every game, the Terminators need to kill a thing. What toughness is it? 10. Thank fuck, we're not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
especially when you start fighting against
so common.
Knights and demons and all that, they have a lot of high.
Oh, and the Eversaw was buttfuck useless. Yeah.
And they killed the Eversaw did kill a Knight Lancer.
He took the last wound off the Imperial Knight Lancer after the Death Company had got into it, after the Heavy Intercessors had gone into it, after all the remaining fire of everything else we could throw into it had got into it. It's left on one wound, so we thought, let's put the assassin into it. Why not? Maybe it'll do the last wound, and it did.
It killed it off. But yeah, so it was just really interesting that toughness 10 seemed such an important breakpoint throughout that whole event. And I just don't think we always take that into account. And the fact that they were so much more durable meant that they could take the charge, and there were still some of them left to come back.
If you're still watching this and
take the
not turned
firepower
off utterly by the random stuff we're talking about, not related to the video title at all, we have got another video where we go over and write the lists that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and we'll probably do another one where we talk about the games in detail.
Yeah, and the armies themselves will be in the pictures at the end of this as well, because we finished painting them and all that. So,
but anyway, yeah. So it was an interesting one, because the Terminators. What was happening was they'd take a lot of firepower and then get charged, so you'd always lose a bit.
And Tony did something I'd never seen before as well, which is run a Terminator Sergeant without the power sword and just put the fist on him as well, and just do like
they do that.
Days. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's very little point. The power sword's a bit of a legacy option, isn't it?
Yes, because the old kits only had power swords, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about Stormlance. I see we've got a picture of a white scar. Where'd you get this picture from, John? Did you just Google it and then not attribute the artist?
I mean, I think it's a model, is it not?
No,
that's not a model.
So someone's made this picture.
Yeah, it looks like some sort of
the little spiky bits off the front wheel, whatever that bit is called, I don't know, is definitely not part of the model.
Well, I mean, if you Google search Stormlance picture, you're definitely not going to find this on the first page of Google search.
So if anybody's watching and knows who made this picture, it's a very nice picture. Thank you very much.
It's very pretty.
We can't distribute it because
it's even got a little bit of red in it, for which we appreciate the red. Yeah, absolutely.
And John, you can't just nick people's art without crediting it.
What's the first page, John? Before we go into it,
what do you mean first page?
What's the first page of the slideshow?
The first page of the slideshow is the detachment rule.
Oh, okay. So we're going to go into detachment rules. I was just wondering if we're going to skip onto things, because we should probably talk about detachment rules and enhancements and things beforehand. So yeah, there we go. Cool. We chose this to go into because advance and charge and fallback and charge is really good for Blood Angels. So we thought it might be an interesting thing to look at and talk about, basically.
Yeah, can I just throw in that my list isn't Blood Angels?
No.
Mine is this time, so that's good.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I found
Your
really
list in the last one wasn't Blood Angels either.
No.
I know, I'm keeping it fresh. I'm switching things up.
When when we looked at these, we looked at them when they first come out, and I think we were quite dismissive of this detachment because we sort of looked at the strats and we looked at the enhancements and just sort of went, yeah, but none of these are applicable unless you've got bikes in your army.
The only thing this works on is Outriders and Invaders.
And bikes aren't very good, so we just sort of thought, well, fuck it, it's rubbish. But then coming back to it now after playing quite a lot of 10th edition,
it's still a bit rubbish.
I don't think it is. I think this is actually a lot stronger than we gave it credit for.
Yeah.
It's
obviously amazing with Dark Angels who get to run more bikes. It's obviously great with Space Wolves who get to run Thunderwolf Cav, which is mounted.
But just think how many times at the weekend when we were playing that event did we need to spend a CP on advance and fallback and charge?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and this has just got that baked in. Everybody can advance, everybody can charge, everybody can fall back and charge. Built in. That's a really powerful detachment rule. I think we said that at the time that the detachment rule was quite powerful, but I just don't think we gave it quite enough credit for just how powerful this could be potentially. And who gives a shit about the stratagems being a bit rough but they're not that bad. Or the enhancements being mostly fixed to bike characters.
Two of them are fixed to bike characters, and the other two are pretty good.
Just don't spend your points on enhancements, then buy more troops.
Yeah, pretty much. What do you think, John? Have you ever given this some serious thought?
I don't like it for Blood Angels. I think it's like you said, a lot of it comes down to the mounted, or I think it's flying units can get a bonus, and I don't really like it.
There's one strat that works on vehicles that are flying. It's a very powerful one.
And do you know what's kind of funny is I'm probably one of the few Blood Angels players that's taking Outriders competitively, and I have been for 6 months, but I just don't think I run enough of them to get the most out of this attachment. So I guess it'll be interesting to see what you guys have done. Full disclosure, I've done a Space Wolf list, which I think is very, very strong this week.
That's been the most powerful for this edition.
Yeah, because Thunderwolves are just always been fairly tasty.
So let's quickly whiz over these strats then. Armor Crescent, everybody knows what that is.
Yep.
Ones that I found quite interesting was Shock Assault.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
That gives you the
charge. Yeah. And the reroll charge.
For a CP.
Yeah.
There is a problem with it, though. And the problem is the only character you're going to equip to a mounted unit, if you're going to do that, realistically, unless you're talking like Dark Angels or Space Wolves or whatnot, is a chaplain on bike. At which point you got +1 to wound anyway, so you're doubling up on having lance and +1 to wound. So
you are, but it's quite handy for the Outriders themselves. Just units of Outriders suddenly been at punch above their weight.
For just the base unit. Totally agree.
For just the base unit. I'm not worrying about it too much on the chaplain unit because the chaplain unit doesn't need it. So if you've got 2 squads of it now, you can use the chaplain to do it and the other squads do it in the same turn.
I think I agree with what you said, Tony, in that I think I would probably run some Outriders with a chaplain and some without to take advantage.
What was the other one that I thought was particularly useful? Windswept Evasion. Now, this caused us a lot of trouble at the weekend with Grey Knights doing basically the same thing as this. Because I couldn't catch the bastards with my very slow Terminators. Being able to move when somebody comes a bit closer so you can't charge them is very annoying.
Yes, it is.
To prevent yourself getting charged.
And ride fast, ride hard is really strong into some armies as well, right?
And
absolutely.
You also can't get away from the value of full throttle on a unit of Outriders who then get to move 12 and auto advance 9 and advance and charge. That's insane. That's crazy.
That's nuts. So I think these are actually quite powerful. And ride hard, ride fast. One Adeptus Astartes mounted or Adeptus Astartes fly vehicle from your unit. So that works on Storm Ravens.
Yeah.
That means you can have -1 to hit and -1 to wound on your toughness 10 Storm Raven.
Doesn't the Storm Raven already have a...
It's got -1 damage as well.
It's -1 damage, is it? It's got, Okay.
So although the Storm Raven is very expensive, it's now pretty tough. It's basically a knight that flies.
For a CP.
For the cost of a CP per turn.
Yeah.
So we like you said, we had been dismissive about it, but all right. So I was going to say the plan for this video is to show you 3 lists that you can build to kick ass with the Storm Raven. You've got the Storm Raven on the
start, an approach and
certainly to try and get started with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we've done in the previous few videos is we've done build 1,000 points of this detachment for each of us, and then bulk it up to 2,000 points. So you can use it as a getting started, slow grow kind of a thing, as inspirational ideas for where you could take an army in multiple different directions over the course of whatever you wanted to do with it. And that's kind of the idea. We've done 2 detachments already. Have we done 2? We've done
2. We've done Ironstorm. We've done
Liberator
Black.
Assault. Yeah. So this is the 3rd one in the series.
Yep.
Who's up first? I
Tony.
assume probably John. Oh no, Tony.
No,
Okay.
Tony.
Yeah, that's good. Why am I first? I'm always last.
Well, your red ones go faster. You're first.
Yeah, there we go.
So here's what I've gone with. I've gone with the Bike Chaplain because I loved him in 9th edition. I still think he's pretty good. The bit of a problem with him is you can't put him with anything apart from Outriders, and Outriders can't get any power weapons or anything. But I've given him the Fury of the Storm enhancement.
Is that the one that gives him extra AP and strength and even more when he charges? Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's going to help a little bit with the lack of strength and the lack of AP in that squad.
That makes his Crozius what? -3 when he charges?
-2 when he charges. Oh, it might be -3. I'm not
It's -1 base, I think. And
-1
then it goes
base.
-2 all the time and -3 on the charge.
It might be, yeah.
That's right.
Which is pretty tasty.
Through the Storm. Yeah. So that's quite another. -3 Crozius hitting at strength 8 with lots of attacks and a ridiculous threat range with that. With that strap.
Yeah.
21 inches plus the charge roll. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty horrific. And he's with a little squad of 3 Outriders. I didn't see the point in sticking with a squad of 6 Outriders in a game this small, in 1,000 points. I thought you'd be better off with 2 squads of 3. Because you can still use them as a cheap throwaway unit if you need it. And he doesn't give, apart from the normal kind of buffs that he gives as a chaplain, he doesn't give huge buffs. If you really need to, you can charge both.
Yeah.
I've also got Chaplain with the jump pack. I like the Chaplain with the jump pack. And I've paired him up with a Jump Death Company. It's only a little 5-man Death Company. I've not bothered with anything like Astarath or the Martes because the Martes is rubbish. Astarath is too expensive.
You're going to get us flamed if you say that.
Everyone we played against was like, why would you take the Martes? The Astarath is so much better. Just want to point that out.
After reading his rules, it was great. It's like, he does dev wounds every time he charges. Oh my god, we've got to kill that unit so fast.
But anyway, so I've just stuck it with it because it gives them a bit of OC, which means you can just, I know it's a bit anti-Blood Angels or whatever, but you can then use Death Company to sort of jump about and do almost jump intercessor things.
Mm-hmm.
And you've still got a fair amount of punch with the Lance on the charge, your Power Fists and whatnot in that squad. So that's kind of a nice little hitty unit. I've got a little unit of Assault Intercessors. There's just 5 of them. I'm thinking they're cheap. They're cheap. They're battle line. Having a unit of battle line in your army can be very useful for certain missions. It's the cheapest one we've got. And with Assault and Charge, Advance and Charge, they move a bit quicker than you would otherwise expect.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a Brutalis Dreadnought because
interesting choice.
My Brutalis Dreadnought can advance and charge.
Yeah. That seems reasonable.
And okay, why wouldn't I want my Brutalis Dreadnought? Because one of the big problems with him is it's a little bit slow running him across the board. Right now, he's a lot faster.
And sorry, the stratagem that lets you auto advance 6, can you use it on him or no?
Excluding walkers, you cannot use it on walkers. Unfortunately,
it's not quite as quick, but that's still pretty quick.
Yeah.
And having him lumbering towards you is a pretty scary thing to do in a 1,000-point game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my 2 little squads of Outriders, and then I've brought 2 Storm Speeder.
Sorry, if I want to go back to that Brutalis. You can use Ride Hard, Ride Fast on him.
Yes.
Oh, right.
He can be -1 to hit and -1 to wound.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, no, you
because
can't.
you know he's going to take.
Sorry, no. Ignore that. Scrap that. That's me misreading the thing. Sorry, my bad. Okay. You can't do that.
You can't. You can use it on the Thunderstrikes. Now, I have to admit that the Thunderstrikes are a bit of a. Not sure about this. Now, let me give you my reasoning.
Which is the buff that the Thunderstrikes gives when they shoot?
+1 to wound with shooting attacks.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to help for the multi-melters on the Brutalis Dreadnought.
It is, and my logic is that this list does suffer a little bit from anti-tank, and dealing with really high toughness things. So with the 2 Thunderstrikes, the Thunderstrike itself has got sort of some strength 12 and strength 10 shooting, whatever. If you shoot it with 1, then you've got the buff for the other one.
I had not even thought of that.
Which
Also use
boosts
it
up
for
their
melt pistols.
wounding potential to make them punch a little bit above their weight against harder targets. And because they're fly, which annoyingly the gladiators aren't, they can still benefit from that strap that makes them harder to hit and harder to wound.
Okay.
I do think they're overcosted. They're 150 points each, and I don't know why they're so expensive. But even without that, things like, because you can pick one target that you're shooting at. So if you were to want to shoot a load of shots off with the Outriders, because they've got quite a lot of DACA for such a small squad, you can put some incidental fire into a random other squad that you're going to want to try and bolter down, and have +1 to wound with all those bolter shots.
Oh, that's a good point, because the Outriders have bolters, led by the chaplain. They've got dev wounds. You've got that stratagem that can potentially make them sustained.
No, but it will make the guns assault because the guns on the Outriders don't already have assault.
Right. So you can advance. Sorry, you can move your full movement, then you can auto advance 6, then you can assault with dev wounds, and then you got +1 to wound and twin linked.
If the bikes auto advance, they auto advance 9. But yes.
Yeah. So I thought that can be quite a useful thing if you really want to just clear out a load of chaff, because you're a bit limited in the amount of shots you can put out in this. So just making them a little bit more valuable is not necessarily a bad thing. And it does give you some fairly quick and mobile anti-tank. So you can run them around in a pair. They can either support each other to get more anti-tank out of it, or that you can be firing something off to try and boost up the abilities of one of your lesser units, or like I say, the multi-bolters and the brutalis. So like I said, I think they're a bit overcosted, but I think that in this particular list, they could be quite useful.
Okay.
It's not a very big list, this one, but I thought I'm trying to sort of maximise the use of the abilities. Now, there's an asterisk next to £395. I'm aware that that's a bit more than the previous one. Now, the reason for that is that you can't buy assault intercessors in units of 5 anymore. You have to buy a unit of 10, and that's 40 odd quid.
Oh, on foot, yeah,
on
sure.
foot.
Okay.
And also the Jump Death Company. What I've done is, rather than buy a unit of jump intercessors and an upgrade sprue and then started scrounging around looking for an extra power fist,
you buy 10 assault heresy
I bought
models.
10 heresy assault marines, and also there's a heresy close assault sprue for weapons. And on that weapon sprue are a shit ton of power fists and an eviscerator. And in fact, if you buy that, you've actually got enough, more or less, to make 2 full squads of Death Company with all their weapon options, which if you did it by buying the Blood Angels upgrade sprue, you'd have to buy 2 of them, and you'd have to still find some more power fists.
Can I just back on the synergies here for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
Yep.
You could then use that blitzing fusillade to give the multi-meltas on the advancing Brutalis Dreadnought assault.
Yep, you could.
Which would be very strong.
And it'll do mortals on the charge as well, which is obviously great.
Yeah, do you know what? You've done really well with your synergies here. I hadn't even considered half of these, to be honest, Tony.
Well, this is what I was doing. Earlier when I was looking through it, I was like, I think we dismissed this too out of hand, just thinking, oh, it only works on bikes, don't worry about it.
I dismissed it because having the speed is all well and good, but there was very little to add to the punch, I felt. But...
Yeah, no,
so I've just tried to use things that don't need me to add to the punch. They've got enough punch on their own.
Yeah, putting chaplains with everything helps for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, so back to the price thing. It is more expensive for 1,000 points, but you've actually got enough models here to add a second Jump Death Company and a second squad of Assault Intercessors as well, bonus. So I thought that was worth pointing out. So yes, it's a bit higher, but it kind of means you've got a bit more to carry over to your next 1,000 points. And I do like the idea of using the Heresy Close Combat sprue and the Heresy Assault Marines.
Oh yeah,
that works out much cheaper. That's about 60 quid then for 2 squads with all the weapon options, which is way cheaper than buying it the other way.
Yeah, and while for anybody who's concerned, while they aren't Primaris models, the base sizes are identical. So to all intents and purposes, they're official GW plastic models. The base size is the same. Just use it. No one's going to care.
So you should be all right. And of course, these prices are all direct from GW. You get 20% off. You buy them somewhere else.
Yeah.
So let's upgrade it then to 2,000
Like
points.
our Element Games affiliate link, which will
Our
be
Element Games affiliate link. We always
somewhere.
get plug. So what I've done is pretty much doubled up a few things. We've now got 2 chaplains with jump packs and 2 death companies. That's partly because I've got the models for it, but also for the same reasons the last one
Hang
in there.
on,
They're quick.
Did I?
Relatively, the 205 points with that character, they're going to punch a bit above their weight, but they can still do actiony things and move around because they've got that champion with them.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 squads of assault intercessors. You could run it as one big one, but I don't think there's any point in this. What this really gets the benefit from having some quite quick, quite horrible little units with their because you can of course give them the bonus to things. So there's only one Brutalis Dreadnought. I did try and get 2 in there, but I had to drop him because of what's going on later on in the list.
£100 for 2 times 5 scouts. That can't be right.
Oh my god, that's so expensive.
That can't be right.
That's because they're in the kill team box, right?
You can only buy
you
them.
get 10 in the kill team box for like.
You can only buy
£40.
them, as far as I can find, in £50 a squad kill team boxes.
Doesn't that come with 10?
No.
Oh.
It comes with 5 of them. So if anybody's got a hack to get scouts cheaper, please drop it in the box below. I know John used the Necromunda Arbites models.
No, mate, it's 10 for 47.50.
Is it 10 of them in the box?
Yeah.
Oh, that saves the 50 quid off that total then.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. It is 10 in the box. Yeah. I'm looking at a picture right now.
I thought it was only 5 when I looked at the picture. I was like, shit, that's expensive. Who's going to pay that? 10 quid a scout?
Happy to point that out then.
All right, so it's 50 quid cheaper. That's a bit nicer. But anyway, so I've certainly won Brutalis. I've got 2 death companies now. I've got 2 units of 3 outriders. Also now finally put in the big unit of 6 outriders because the shooting buffs with that bite chaplain, actually in all those dev wounds, and that +1 to wound if you wanted it, means that's a lot of firepower coming out of there and a lot of melee ability
as well. Yeah, it'll cost you like 3 CP to make the most of it, but it'll go fast and it'll
do some damage. A couple of units of scouts, because that means that you can try and do a bit of blocking off and allowing space to move around.
Yeah,
and you've got some action monkeys, and then I brought a unit of assault centurions. I know we avoid firstborn in this. They might go legend, so don't take this as gospel. But the Storm Raven benefits from the -1 to wound and the -1 to hit strap for its bigger turn, which makes it a flying knight, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you can fill it with assault centurions.
Yeah.
You can fly it up, let it get shot at. It's going to be hard to wound anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Then your assault centurions can jump out, advance, and charge.
Yeah, true. They need advance and charge because they move 4 inches.
Charge to be worth anything.
They can't advance and charge when disembarking.
They have to be out first.
No, they can advance and charge and disembark as long as the Storm Raven hasn't moved.
If you disembark, you count as having made a normal move. You cannot then advance. I'm pretty sure.
I might be wrong on that, but it still seemed about the only time that you're going to get assault centurions moving quick enough to use.
Yeah, no, you definitely cannot disembark and then move further.
If the transport hasn't moved, you can.
Oh, if it hasn't moved, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you let it on, it's just not moved.
Cool. Sorry, I was thinking like on the turn where you move it up, or
no. Yeah,
no.
Where it comes on the board from reserve.
You can't charge out of it anyway. It's not an assault ramp.
Yeah, cool. All right, sorry.
But yeah, so it gets your assault centurions close to things, and having an advance and charge on assault centurion sounds quite terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah, makes up for the slow speed.
So it's a bit of a meme ending to the list, to be honest. But assault centurions, considering you don't need any characters with them, I think hit about the hardest thing that is in the codex.
Oh, there's some of the most punchy melee units in the game.
And I just love the fact that the Storm Raven benefits from that strap. Probably, if you've been hyper competitive, you wouldn't run a Storm Raven in there. You'd run something else, and you wouldn't run assault centurions in there. You'd run something else. But to hell with it. I've just brought the punchiest Storm Raven that I can possibly think of.
I've got 2 Storm
Overcrosted
Ravens in my display cabinet that have not been removed from there since, like, I don't know, 8th edition or something. They've been in that cabinet for years and they've not been taken out except to get dusted.
So if you were thinking, I want to be really competitive, probably dropping the Assault Centurions, dropping the Storm Raven and running Dante with 6 Sanguinary Guard would probably be more effective.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's going to cost a similar amount. And you can tweak elsewhere to try and make that up. That would be the more meta pick, and it would be a more safe pick because there's no firstborn in that.
So you've
But if you
essentially
just
taken the
wanted-
principles of the first 1,000 points and sort of doubled down on it, basically.
Yeah, basically, I just made it bigger. And then put a silly sting in its tail because I wanted something that could nuke something from orbit. And three assault
It's the only way to be sure.
Because it's the only way to be sure. And three
I
assault
love that.
centurions do it. And let's be honest, they're cool. They're such a ridiculously silly unit, and we only got access to them in 9th edition. I reckon we're only going to have access to them for 2 editions out of. So I very much doubt they're going to be in the book next edition.
They are very silly.
So yeah, so that's how I finished it off. Like I say, if you want to be meta, if you want to kind of be a bit more serious about it, don't take the Storm Raven Assault. Bring Dante and the Sanguinary Guard.
What do you think, John?
Just advance and charge on them with his +1 to advance and to charge anyway. It's going to make a real horrible threat range out of that unit.
I feel hell with it. Do exactly what Tony said and take the Centurions. I played Centurions. They're really good. It's just they're really slow.
I've been playing them in a Land Raider quite happily for this edition.
What's their foot speed? Is it 4 inches?
4
inches.
4.
So advance and charge definitely adds a little bit of something to that.
I quite like them in a Land Raider because I just run the base Land Raider because it's not got any blast. So even if it has to shoot in combat, it has to shoot in combat.
They can't be joined by any leader at all. Is that right?
No. They don't need a leader, man. You just oath the moment because they got sustained 2 into monsters and vehicles, and you just fish for 6s. Mm-hmm. And they're so ridiculously killy because they're strength 10 twin linked, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like their shooting means nothing. I just forget about their shooting. Just advance and charge them because if you advance them, you're not shooting them.
Wound. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just hilariously funny when you see them actually hit something that they've got there. I think that I don't like them, but like I was like, I don't think that someone will be like, and if you're going to go out and buy them, probably don't because I don't think they're going to be in the next edition.
But, yeah, we need Games Workshop to give us a list of things that are not going to be in the next edition, but they're not going to do it.
We commit. We will not squat this shit for at least 3 years. That would be something that would be nice.
We're not going to do that though because it will tank sales.
Yeah,
it will.
Anyway, so yeah, that's my list. I tried to keep the synergies to what the strengths of that detachment are. It was making this. It has made me think the detachment has got some legs. And I would be happy to run this into more or less anything. It's a little bit light on anti-tank.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10 of effort because I couldn't come up with this. I didn't manage to come up with something like this. So there you go.
Yeah, it's just a little bit light on anti-tank unless you can spam your assault centurions into something and then it's going to die, whatever it is.
Yeah, fair.
Okay,
awesome.
Let's see what you got, Mark.
Oh, is this mine? Is it? Okay, cool. So I got my first 1,000 points on the left and then the expansion on the right, just like I've done the last few ones. As with the last couple of ones that we've done, I've started with the Blood Angels Combat Patrol because it's a theme. Let's go with it. Why not do it? Well, I'm keeping the Sanguinary Guard in a single unit of 6. We're converting the captain that it comes with to a jump pack, so get a spare jump pack and put it on the captain and sticking with the Sangard. I've converted the 10 assault intercessors that come with it to jump pack Death Company, so get some spare jump packs and bung them on those guys and make them Death Company instead, and get a chat plane with jump pack to go with them, because if you're running something that has native assault, advance and charge and fallback and charge and all this sort of stuff, you want to make the most of it with stuff that can charge and do some slapping and punching in melee. So I thought, let's have a big unit of Sangard, let's have a big unit of DC, and then sort of like buff stuff up and run things around that core, so to speak. The chaplain with it to go with the Death Company because he's like an all-purpose, cheap, useful thing to do it. He's got the fainting withdrawal enhancement, which means you can fall back and shoot, as well as fall back and charge that you get natively, and advance and charge natively, which with the Death Company and the guns that they've got with their Inferno pistols and plasma pistols gives them a little bit of threat, so they can just like bounce in, kill something, maybe not kill it completely, jump away, shoot something close range, and then charge that as well. So that makes them hopefully pretty tasty. Then I've added in a couple of units of 3 Outriders because you want to have bikes in this detachment more than anything else, and they're the things to scout forward and start claiming things early. sit on them and get the objectives and bait the opponent to come forward, so you can then charge stuff with your Death Company and your Sandguard, and a Gladiator Lancer in the first 1,000 points to have something to sit in the backfield and shoot downfield with its horrific gun of doom. Basically, it's a very basic first 1,000 points, which is kind of set really around trying to make the most of the Blood Angels combat patrol in this detachment more than anything else.
Cool.
Bumping up to 2,000 points, it starts to get a bit more flavour. And a lot of this, the inspiration for the tactics that I've taken for this, I have to attribute to Tony and the first game of our doubles thing, where we just like threw all of our melee tat into their stuff, held it there, and then just had a couple of indicators pop out, kill something, pop out, kill something while it was tied up by the rest of the army. So in the next 1,000 points after this, I go up from 2 units of 3 Outriders to 3 units of 6 Outriders. So they can start going forward, being toughness 5 bodies with a bunch of wounds, sitting on objectives. They can have the lance and reroll charges strat on one of them. And then the 3 Invader ATVs are in there to do exactly the same thing. They're just chaff. I'm throwing them forwards. They can charge stuff. They can fall back and charge. They can fall back and shoot and charge if they want to.
So they're not part of the Outrider units. You're not attaching them.
No, they're separate. And the reason for that,
I did think about putting the Invader ATV on. So I know I'm jumping in, but
that's cool.
Putting the Invader ATV on the big unit 6 with that chaplain and that fainting withdrawal.
Yeah.
Because I thought that could be quite horrific with all these buffs we're saying about the shooting. Because you can fall back, get a shitload of fire that you buffed up with all these strats, and then go back in. And I was umming and ahhing about it for a while, and I just couldn't decide whether the extra 60 points for a multi-melter on that squad, or would it just end up getting killed off to the point of I wouldn't want to do it anyway, or...
Well, the tack I'm taking with this is that the 3 units of 6 Outriders and the 3 individual Invader ATVs, they're throwaway chaff. They are designed to charge forwards, tag stuff, hold it up, be annoying, so that the now 3 Gladiator Lancers in my backfield can take pot shots and kill a unit at a time, and whatever I've got left forward out the Outriders and Invaders can just fall back tactically as needs be, ready to charge something else and tag it and tie it up, assuming they're not killed or dead. And the Infiltrators and the Phobos Libby are there because I really love them for holding the backfield, stringing things out, blocking out, deep striking. They will specifically give the Gladiators a bubble, a massive, huge bubble of deep strike denial for them to operate in and move around in and be able to shoot downfield within, so they can't get dropped down and advanced charge tied up or whatever. And the 2 melee death blobs of the Sandguard and Captain and the Death Company and Chaplain are obviously just melee death blobs, really.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, that's where I've gone with that one.
You know what make this list better?
A squad of scouts for one of the Invader ATVs, I feel like, just to be your uppy-downy action monkeys.
No.
No? Okay.
Swapping the 3 Lancers for 3 Vindicators.
Yeah, it would do. You're absolutely right.
Vindicators are becoming meta for Blood Angels, right?
We all know why.
In my opinion, they've been meta since day 1. They've been meta since 3rd edition.
So the reason why Vindicators are not in this list and the Lancers are is because the Vindicators are firstborn tanks, and we fully expect them to get retired within a year or 2.
We do.
So
which is sad,
it's very difficult to recommend them as investments.
Yeah,
if you
don't go out and buy 3 Vindicators as much as I bang on about how much I love them.
I mean, if you've got money to burn, go ahead and do it. They're great tanks right now. We just don't expect them to last.
Yeah,
sadly.
Sure.
They're well worth the extra 10 points per Lancer just for that D6. 2 of them firing D6 at strength 14 shots just blows away anything. And 3 of them really going to blow away anything. But they're not going to be in next edition. Don't go out and buy them. But if you've got them,
another tactic that can be used with this build, if you're worried about the Lancers getting shot off the board turn 1, is that the 3 Lancers are just shy of 500 points. So you can strategic reserve all 3 of them off the board if you want to, turn 1, and they can all arrive in one go quite happily.
Yeah, and with 72 inches, they probably can all shoot the same target and obliterate it quite happily.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay. Are you ready to see some Space Wolves?
Not really. It would be nice if they're bloody.
Not really. Bloody furry
Space Wolves, yeah.
wankers. I like to think of Space Wolves as space arseholes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
So
all the way through the heresy, it's like if there's one legion that's just going to be arseholes, it's the Space Wolves.
So John has joined. What is it? Team Jacob? Is he the werewolf? I don't know what the names of them are.
So I looked at Stormlance and I decided that Wolf Lords on Cavalry plus Thunderwolf Cavalry in this detachment are very, very good. And the reason behind that, like I actually looked at some competitive lists that had done well and had won tournaments. Mm-hmm. And the reason that Thunderwolves and Thunderwolf Cavalry are so strong is because
they can take melee weapons.
Well, they actually only have heirloom weapons, and they are only strength 5 -1 2 damage. But sorry, 5 -1 1 damage. But when you charge, they become an additional point of damage. Mm-hmm. So the Wolf Lord gives you +1 to advance and charge. So basically, your Thunderwolf Cavalry +1 to advance and charge, and when you are charging, they become 2 damage. So I did like a squad of Wolf Cavalry led by the Wolf Lord, and when we go up to 2,000 points, we're going to do 3 of those. So basically, we're going to have 18 Thunderwolf Cavalry, each led by a Wolf, +1 advance and charge, +1 damage. When you're charging, and then you could choose which one you're putting that lance stratagem on. The one that goes into the hardest enemy, you put the lance on. Yep. I did the Assault Intercessor Captain inside the Impulsor because I just think it's great anyway. Yep. In terms of getting dev wounds on that captain and Oath of Moment, a Vindicator tank, and then I did sort of what Tony did, a Chaplain on a bike, but with 6 Outriders in 1,000 points.
Yeah.
And then for the making up to 2,000 points, I just added, on top of those Wolf Cavalry, 2 more units of Outriders and a Ballistus. I would have liked to add that second Vindicator tank, like the things that we just talked about. It's so good. Mm-hmm. But a Ballistus, well, you made the point earlier that a Ballistus Dreadnought killed your Vindicator
tank. Killed one of my Vindicators, first shot of the game.
2 last cannon shots.
But it can be done, absolutely.
It was a very lucky shot. It shouldn't have done it, but it did do it.
Yeah, well, I think
put me on the back foot from the beginning.
Dreadnoughts, I think the missiles can be underrated as well because they do get 2d6 strength 5 blast shots as well, which will kill any sort of chaff.
Yeah, and they got a 2-up native save, unlike the Gladiator Lancer, which is 3-up save.
True, and the other thing that I like about the Ballistus is, like, see if you have that, like, frag missile and you see the enemy's got, like, a chaff unit of cultists or something, usually you're going to shoot them when they're at full strength. So you're usually going to, you're going to hit them with the blast missile, and then it's going to be like, well, I'm re-rolling all my hits because you're above half strength. So I would have liked to put 2 Vindicator tanks in here, but
getting
the
+1 shot on the Vindicators happened and was very valuable quite a few times to us over the course of the weekend as well, even if it was just like a 5-person unit or a 10-person unit. Yeah.
So I think that like if you want to absolutely maximize this detachment, it's probably a Space Wolves detachment that makes the most out of it because these Thunderwolf just synergize so well with it. So I thought it would be good. I know we typically do Blood Angels lists, but I thought it would be good to just demo this. Like if you're just wanting to do Stormlance, you just want to have the strongest list. Here's the kicker though, Space Wolves don't have their codex yet, right? So there's a very good chance Thunderwolf Cavalry get squatted, or they are firstborn.
They might, I suppose.
They might, or it might not, because they're very iconic, and I think it's struggled to run.
In
I
the
think
same
they're
way
going to lose the
Vanguard
Dreadnoughts.
got redone, I suspect.
Murder Fang's going to go. I reckon I could see there being a new Bjorn the Fell-Handed, but because he's such an iconic special character.
Name and character, yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know how they'd do it because I can't imagine you can take a firstborn sarcophagus and fit it in a.
Maybe they do an upgrade sprue for a Brutalis.
Maybe that's what I mean. But how would you physically do it from a lore perspective? He's in a dreadnought. He doesn't come out of the dreadnought.
Yeah, I mean the sarcophagus can be unplugged from a dreadnought and put.
Maybe then they just build him a new one around it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I suspect if they're going to do it with any of them, they'd do it with him.
Yeah, but it can't be Redemptor Dreadnought because Redemptor Dreadnoughts burn out their pilots, remember?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if they'd do it with the Thunderwolf Cavalry just because there's no analogue. Yeah, we can say Death Company just announced. Death Company being intercessors actually makes sense because it's just people who have fallen and all the modern ones are intercessors. So there's going to be a limit on the number of firstborn falling anymore because they're all dead. It's only going to be intercessors after a certain point. But Thunderwolf Cavalry is a specific unit. There's no analog, so it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, if we got that was their new unit.
Yeah, they get upgraded like the Sanguine Guard. Yeah, that is possible. So maybe,
like the replacement Sanguine or the Inner Circle stuff for the Dark Angels.
All the way Terminators got revisioned as just being slightly bigger. Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if we got some modern Thunderwolves.
Yeah, and they're very good because they get like 7 attacks each on the charge, and the +1 damage, and the +1 to advance and charge. I guess when you
shields and everything else they get.
Yeah, when you combine it with Oath of the Moment, they're just very, very good. And
you know where these would be really good?
Where?
Running them with lag.
Yeah, but the other thing, I actually thought that these big units of Thunderwolf Cavalry would be amazing with that ride hard, ride fast for -1 to hit, -1 to wound. Like Mark said, they already all got storm shields, so they're already super difficult to bring down.
Can you imagine though with 8 attacks, punching at strength 7?
It's a good thing you can't, because they're Space Wolf units, and Blood Angel detachment is not.
No, you can run the Blood. You can run Liberator Assault Group with Space Wolves in it.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. You can't.
No, you can't.
Why can't you?
Because
you couldn't run it with Blood Angel units.
You cannot use non-Blood Angel keyworded units in a Blood Angel detachment.
Yeah,
I thought they were Red Space Marines now.
No, Codex Space Marine stuff, yes. The stuff from Blood Angels, no. The stuff from Dark Angels has the same restriction.
Yeah, yeah. It's fine. I mean, they're toughness 6, 4 wounds each. Storm shields. You make them -1 to hit, -1 to wound. Even friggin', I don't know, like Power Fist, for example, are only wounding them on 4s. Yeah. I think
incredibly strong. So plus to win.
We've the reason I wanted to look at Thunderwolf was I started Googling to see who'd won tournaments with Stormlance, and Space Wolf seemed to be the one that have won the most tournaments with Stormlance. So I thought it was good to just cover it. If you want to build the strongest Stormlance, maybe Space Wolves is
so
right.
On the one hand, John the Blood Angels commander has betrayed Blood Angels in this thing, but on the other hand, he has built the most competitive list he could think of with this detachment. So
that's why this podcast is so good, right? Because we cover all the angles, I think.
We're more free to, at least. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Do you want to move on?
Awesome. Let's move on. What we got? Pile of.
Fuck! Did you get that picture?
Wow.
That's a 15-year-old picture if ever I've seen one.
I assume Facebook.
If not more. I reckon that'd have been about 2011, something like that.
That is water, isn't it?
Yes, because I didn't really drink much at the time.
Of course.
You made a comment on how good the slide was last time, so I thought I'd try and make it better for you, Tony.
Well, I'm disgusted that you've still got Pile of Glory instead of Pile of Glory.
You was trying to call it Pile of Shame earlier, so there we go. Anyway, what we got? What's John been working on? John has been paying somebody else to do his work for him.
Yes. This is the Impulsor that I commissioned this last couple of weeks. I've painted a little bit.
Who did you commission it from, John?
Mike. Mike Paint It Red Studios, actually, if you want to find him on Facebook. He has 13,000 likes on his Facebook page. So,
really?
He does good work.
Yeah, he does good work.
Yeah.
And I asked him to specifically match the other ones that I've got, so he copied all my colour schemes, and this one actually converts into Gladiator. You didn't glue that shield dome off, you can lift it off and put the Gladiator tank top bit back on. So, it was good. I just thought I'd show it because I like Impulsors, and I'm running double Impulsor now for Blood Angels. And not many people are running double Impulsor. People seem to have gone away from Impulsors.
I just don't like the general principle because they're not rhinos. That's the only reason I dislike them.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that Impulsor has firing deck 6 as well.
Yeah.
So everything can shoot out.
Except the one, I think they forgot the one guy. Because when they upgraded it.
The carryover from when it used to only hold 6 models.
So basically one guy with the bolt pistol has to just sit in his arse and everyone else gets to shoot. But they're fun. And I think
you can't get out of the hut.
I found out about a rule about this from DTM earlier in the rules queries bit in the Discord that we have, and that is that because the Impulsor does not have any assault weapons, even if the people inside it do, it cannot be selected to shoot if it advances. So even if the things inside it have got assault weapons to poke out the firing deck and shoot with, because the Impulsor itself doesn't have any assault weapons, you can't select it to shoot, therefore you can't activate the assault weapons on the people inside it.
I had no idea about that.
Neither did I. It's a weird interaction that never really occurred to me, that kind of doesn't make sense, but sort of logically follows at the same time. It's really strange.
Cool. Okay, good to know.
You have to be careful about that if you were thinking about shooting your stuff out of your Impulsor.
Random, yeah, like Hellbusts or something or whatever.
Yeah, it massively puts shooting units in there, I suppose.
This is my half of the Doubles Army that finally got finished and painted last week. Before we took it, I got a fair few compliments on Dante, which I was quite happy with.
You did, and he looked very good. He looked very nice in person. Mephiston was a fucking waste of time in that tournament.
Oh, he did a couple of things. He was less of a waste of time than the Eversaw, but yeah, he was not massively helpful.
Was he not? Because I found that a lot of Blood Angels players have started like removing like one squad of guys, because that's what he costs, right?
Yeah.
To put Mephiston in. So if we go back 6 months, let's say Blood Angels are running like 350 points of characters. Now typically they're running 450 or 500 because Mephiston has. It's almost like no one sacrificed the characters they already ran. They've just added Mephiston, and I guess the sacrifice.
It's entirely possible we weren't using him to best effect. I was using him more of a sort of throwaway bait kind of a character more than anything else.
What seemed to happen a few times was things would just drop down and nuke him.
Yeah,
and he wasn't sort of
drop down within 12 inches and just shoot shit out of him.
They drop outside of 9, but within the 12, and kill him dead. Yeah,
in the 4-up, feel no pain just wasn't enough.
Not with what they were shooting him with. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure how I felt about him.
Yeah.
He's okay, but he wasn't enough of a threat on his own, like damage dealing, because as we know, he's not much of a damage dealer, and he's very survivable for a 125-point man on his own. But he is still a 125-point man on his own.
You've got to put him against the right things for him to be resilient against, and we either didn't do that, or the opportunities to do so
didn't quite do us as proud as we would have hoped.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say about this is that I really quite like the finish with Astaroth having white hair on this particular model. It seems to work.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm going to steal it.
Awesome.
And when I redo my new Astaroth, which I haven't done yet because I've got the new model, I'm going to give him white hair.
You painted all this really, really quick, Mark. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Well, the Sangard were already mostly painted. They just got rebased and redone.
Because they're firstborn, aren't they?
Yeah, they are firstborn Sangard.
Oh, cool. Bestborn.
Yeah. That unit did us proud. That Sanguinary Guard were excellent in every game.
Oh, they were so good. Them and the Death Company were just rocking amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Worth their weight in gold. I've clicked the wrong button there. That's not good. Let's move on to the next one.
So here's my half. Well, sort of. In the bottom left is my half. I didn't paint all that for the tournament. You can see in the other 3 pictures things that I did paint for the tournament.
Those company heroes did well.
Those company heroes really did us proud. Actually, they were in the first game when they got charged by a Grandmaster of Nemesis Dread Knight thing, which failed to kill them.
Yes.
And then
he wasn't a Grandmaster, apparently. That was the thing. He was just a Nemesis Dread Knight, not a Grandmaster.
He got absolutely wrecked by the captain in return.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the -1 to wound on those company heroes, I think a lot of people underrate how useful it is.
Yeah, I think they were
They weren't like rock stars, but they were just solidly there all the time, doing
they
what
always took. Yeah, they took a charge from the Keeper of Secrets. And most of them got wiped, but then they came back swinging the next turn with full back and charge and did a lot of damage back. They just every game they did their job, and they punched well above their weight, and they were just annoying to try and remove.
Yeah,
I think the paint job you've done on them is stellar. By the way, when I saw the photo, I was like, man, these guys look so cool.
I mean, Tony's painting has always been superlative.
So,
thank you. That's very fun.
Good job, because I know you rushed out this for the tournament. So I think
it was rushed. So the that's my heavy intercessors that I did. Again, they were a little bit rushed out, but they did as proud as well. I really enjoyed the way that they interacted because they were just annoying. They took more than they should have done to die every time, and actually put out quite a lot of. I think I underestimated how useful the Strength 5 bolters were.
Yeah, the chip wounds were absolutely useful. They
They did a little bit of chip.
2 shots each or something? Do they?
Sorry?
Is it 2 shots on each bolter?
3.
3? Oh, because rapid fire?
No, just 3 shots.
Because they amalgamated the 3 profiles,
Yeah.
the heavy bolt rifles to the assault auto bolt rifles and all that kind of stuff.
But again, we misunderstood just how important Strength 5 was.
Yeah.
Because what Strength 5 means is you can shoot at a toughness 9 things and still be wounding on 5, not 6s.
Oh, I see.
So that was only a little change, but it was a significant one and an important one in a few cases when actually they were able to wound vehicles and things
And they
just
got
a little bit
range
easier
of
than
like
they.
36 as well, so they can hit almost all the boards that they want to hit.
Yeah. So I was really pleased with how well these performed, to the point of I think they're going to become a bit of a staple in my more balanced army. The one that I was a bit disappointed with was, if I'm honest, I didn't really. Maybe it's because I'm not really used to using them that much, but my I kind of wish I'd kept the second squad of them and not bothered with the infiltrators.
Hmm.
And I know that they probably did some annoying things for my opponents that they just didn't see. But I generally found the infiltrators just sort of sat around a bit.
They were a very passive unit. Yeah,
They're a very, very passive unit. And yes, the range 12 was very useful, potentially, but I couldn't cover everything with them. I would need a second squad, probably. I think I might have preferred just having 2 squads of of heavy intercessors and using the points elsewhere. Although I do quite like my Road Trader era Desert Blood Angels colour scheme that I did for the infiltrators.
No, the colour schemes are
which got some comments as well as being very good. Good to see.
I like the way they turned out. Actually, that camo pattern, that took fucking ages. Far more time than I originally attributed to doing them. But yeah, so that was interesting. I like the heavy intercessors. I really like the company heroes. Terminators were absolutely brilliant, and they're just better than Bladeguard, in my opinion now.
So I need to find a way to get some Terminators into my list. Okay.
And the other thing that I didn't appreciate initially was the frag missiles on the Cyclone missile launcher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I never really
They put in
considered
some
it. Just crack. And then suddenly you think, actually, I really need to get rid of that squad. It's gone. For the same reason you're sort of saying about the missiles on the ballistas. It's not quite as much.
One game there was like a Calidus assassin just sat in an objective in the middle of the field. It's like,
So
what's going to be the best thing to
die.
get rid of that? Let's chuck a couple of frags at it. Yeah, I'll do all right.
Or I want to wipe out a squad of guardsmen kind of thing.
Maybe I need to get some Terminators in for a.
I'm absolutely sold
Punchy punch
on Terminators at the moment.
Did you put them? Did you use the Homer then, or how did you play them?
The
Homer was on the board, but it never got used to bring them in.
We didn't use it we didn't rapid ingress them. I still dropped them in our turn because I wanted the firepower.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would plan to rapid ingress them, but I never actually did. The first game we walked them along, and that was a mistake because they couldn't catch things enough. They just ended up being very annoying.
But they also scared them away a little.
Oh yeah, they were just running away from them. They did
in.
quite a bit of damage for shooting.
They didn't live up to their potential, but they were very solidly useful doing what they were doing.
The second game again, I knew the enemy were coming to us because there was this horrible demon knights combo thing.
Yeah.
So I just deployed them right up the front and let them come in. And the fact that they're just that bit tougher meant that they were just that bit harder to kill. So there was a few of them left when they got charged, whereas I think Bladeguard they wouldn't have been.
Cool.
Okay. And then the third game, I teleported in our turn because I was able to get close enough anyway, and I wanted the firepower to back up the death company that needed a bit of fire support.
Yeah, that was the game where we just decided to leave the infiltrators at the back and everything else go woo forward. And the Terminators had been started in reserves that game, so we brought them on as soon as we could, basically.
Interesting. Okay.
Maybe but not that I've rapid ingress them in, but it's just we didn't need them for that role. This thing, because we had Dante coming in through Rapid Ingress anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or except when Mark forgets to bring him in. Or we have the Death Company, so we just didn't need to have an extra.
I'm so sorry about that.
Was that in game 2? Is that the game you lost?
That was game 1.
But you won the game. It's fine.
We did.
Mistakes can be made.
Just barely.
Without Dante and the Sanguinary Guard until the last turn.
Okay.
So I was planning to drop them in backfield to charge a squad of Intercessors and Azrael that they'd left exposed in the rear backfield and do them. And then suddenly it's like we're halfway through the opponent's shooting phase, like, oh shit, I forgot to rapid ingress. Will you let me know? So yeah, that was not great. Yeah. But they came on and they utterly obliterated Azrael and his bodyguard the turn after.
They did.
Which was very fun to watch. He thought he was going to rely on Azrael's 4-up Indvan save to tank whatever he needed to tank. But the volume of attacks from the Sangreed Guard just
it's too much.
Minced everything. It was very funny.
The whole event they chewed through absolutely. If they charged it, it died. Apart from Rogue Dawn.
Yeah, we got like one wound off killing the Rogue Dawn, which was quite cool.
Oh, I think that's John gone.
It's going to be a child-based thing. Yeah,
that's going to be a child-based thing. Well, at least we get to look at the back of his thing. What is going on with the back of that chair?
That's Frostmourne. That's a World of Warcraft sword as wielded by Arthas Menethil, aka the Lich King, that turned him into.
It's more because it looks like it's got milk poured down the back of the chair.
It does, doesn't it? That's.
But I can't say if that's part of the design. It's a frosty look.
It might be. Or
if John's chair is gross.
It might just be like, I don't know, chalky stuff rather than milky stuff.
It could well be, yeah, absolutely.
That's
we'll ask him when he comes back.
It could just be frosty weirdness as part of the aesthetic for Frostmourne, I suppose, because
it definitely has the kind of secret lab thing, and that kind of fits with the colour scheme, isn't it? But anyway, yeah. So now we're just gonna have to vamp for a few minutes until John comes back.
Yeah, which is
He's
fine.
not gonna remember to cut this out.
Not even slightly. So we've had a request to cover the Vanguard detachment, which I'm sure we'll do, if not next, then at some point soon, which would be nice.
Vanguard.
I
have to admit with this one, I really had to bone up because again, I just totally dismissed this as being a rubbish detachment.
Yeah.
And by the time I spent a bit of time on it, I thought, actually, I think I could build a pretty competitive.
The only detachment I'm worried about writing an army like this for is the first company one, because that is definitely tosh.
It is tosh. It really is tosh. Did someone win a tournament with first company the other week?
They did, yeah.
Quite recently, yeah. I was like, really?
We're definitely going to do the Angels. Blood Angel detachment. We're definitely going to do Death Company one at some point soon. But
leave us a comment on which detachment you desperately want us to see next, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will put in
what video should we watch next?
I'll put in the video for last week's video about Ironstorm.
The Ironstorm one. That'd be nice.
That's worth a watch, because that's another one that I think people misunderstand. They think Ironstorm, that means I must be tank. But actually, I think it's a lot more versatile.
It's a very competitive detachment. Yeah.
Someone just won a tournament in Blood Angels with Ironstorm as well.
Yeah, Mark Pocock did.
So if you haven't seen that, then that is in last week's video, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We looked at it and went through it. It's a good one. I've also seen that a Games Workshop dev took second place in a UK major tournament this week, as reported on Goonhammer, by running Ultramarines Gladius with Gilliman, Calgar, and the other guy.
Oh, cool. Well, we haven't done Gladius either. So, yeah, leave us a comment down below. If you'd like to support what we do, we have a Patreon link that you can check out. It will be in the video description as well.
If you value what we do, if you find it interesting or amusing, worth the price of a cup of coffee every month, just chuck some stuff. We'll buy rules, materials, and things to cover and review for you guys.
And we will see you guys next time.
Catch you on the next one.
Doodles.
Cheers. All right, good night.